Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Deathmaster Snikch. So Snikch starts his campaign over at Jingpo, which is the most lore-friendly of his start positions that he's had so far. In Warhammer 2 Mortal Empires, he started off in the Flayed Rock, and in the Vortex campaign, he started off in the middle of Araby. You're pitted up against the Dimmed Suns Greenskins to begin with. Now, this is one of the more challenging start positions, at least in terms of the higher difficulties, in Warhammer 3, because most Legendary Lords, your starting enemy, can be basically defeated on the first turn by auto-resolving it. They're usually fairly easy, but this one here, you can take this army out here fairly easy, but the problem is that the distance between all these settlements takes a bit of time to get to, which gives them time to build another army, and that army there could actually be a problem, because the early game Greenskin units are quite strong, and the early game Skaven units are particularly weak, so it can be a challenging matchup. So the way to go about this is to just take this out as quickly as possible. Do not stuff around, don't focus on anything else, just get rid of these greenskins. It's also really important to save up your food and spend it on Kunland and get it up to tier 4 or tier 5 as quickly as possible, so you can bypass having trash units and start getting some much higher tier 1s. Now, typically speaking, you do have to be a bit careful with Eshin in terms of what units you recruit, because if you recruit Molder, Scryer, or Pestilence type troops, they will have massive increased recruit costs. Now, later on in the campaign, the recruit costs won't matter, but in the early stages of the campaign it does. So it might be more manageable to just recruit Eshin units, which are very good for Eshin because of their increased armor-piercing damage, and just having a horde of cheaper-to-recruit armies that you can go around and just gain some assets. Cathay is a really good location for this Skaven to hold on to, because there's quite a lot of territory with pastures, which is good for maintaining a constant food supply. So you want to get onto those settlements as quickly as possible. Most of them are around over here. So there's a lot going on in this particular campaign, which is good. Once you've taken out those greenskins, it really is up to you which way you want to go about it. You're almost completely surrounded by Cathayan Legendary Lords, but you've also got Dark Elves over here with Lockyer Felhart, and also Lizardmen down here with Nakai the Wanderer. So these are things to keep in mind, and also Warriors of Chaos north of here, which you can be friendly with. Now, in terms of Snikch as a Legendary Lord, he is a pretty good fighter. He's very good at killing enemy lords, but he's not great at dueling. He's got, typically speaking, pretty low amount of hit points. So what you want to do with Snikch is, generally speaking, have the enemy lord busy doing something else, fighting like a chaff unit, and then have Snikch come up behind them and then kill them, because he's got a lot of damage, a lot of melee attack, but he just won't stay in a prolonged fight for very long. That's sort of his advantage. In terms of his like campaign bonuses, he's got some really good stuff in here. He's basically guaranteed to ambush every single time you launch an attack, which is really good because ambushes are amazing. But one of the best things about Snikch is Hero and Lord recruit rank +3. When playing as a Skaven, you really want to have higher tier lords as much as possible, so Snikch really helps in terms of that. And then of course you've got your shadowy dealing. Now, Snikch is by no means the most powerful lord, or even the Skaven, most powerful Skaven lord in the game. However, Clan Eshin can easily be argued as the most powerful of the Skaven clans, and it comes down to shadowy dealing. You know, getting clan contracts every 2 to 10 turns is very good, and typically speaking, I usually just do all of them, but focusing on one of them is a good way to focus on one particular type of army, but you can't really control what clan gives you a contract, and being fussy, you might end up with nothing. Now, when it comes to the actions, all of these actions are really good, but when it comes down to the best one, and this is what really makes Eshin such a powerful faction, Plunge into Anarchy, which is their most powerful shadowy dealing, this destroys an entire faction with the click of a button. So in Warhammer 2, this was especially powerful because AI factions would oftentimes own 100 settlements. Now that, typically speaking, only happens in Warhammer 3 if they're an endgame crisis faction. I've only ever seen the Greenskins ever hit 100 settlements on their own, and being able to just wipe out like Grimgor Ironhide with the click of a button is absolutely insane. So you don't really need this as much in Warhammer 3 because the AI factions just don't ever become that much of a snowball effect, but it is very powerful to at least have it. And then of course, if you're not going to use it, you've still got a lot of very powerful actions here, and also some common actions that you can use to get some, easy money and some easy food. There's no downside really to using the Eshin actions. It's a really good system. And then, of course, as far as the Skaven are concerned, they're a very powerful race. The food system is a little bit wonky at the moment in Warhammer 3, because the way it works is that you get the majority of the food assuming you kill the Lord of the army. Like, the Lord might provide between 5 and 20 food, but killing their entire army but letting the Lord get away might give you only 2 or 3 food. So, for example, I went up against just Miao Ying, and she just Miao Ying on her own, and she gave me 20 food for killing her. But I went up against a full stack of greenskins, but the Lord got away, and I got like 2 food. So it's a little bit wonky how food works at the moment. Basically, you want to really prioritize killing enemy lords, which is why Snitch is good at doing that. But yeah, just don't let the lords ever get away. Even if the enemy army is on force march, or they're going to get wiped out, you always want to make sure that you're killing the Lord in the battle, unless it's a siege battle, because in siege battles they're always technically killed. So those are some tips there for you. It's also really good to set up some undercities over by the gate settlements, and primarily just get some food going, because that's probably one of the biggest limiting factors to the Skaven in terms of their expansion. You want to really be pushing your settlements to their maximum tier, especially the major settlements, as much as you can, and then you're just limited on food. So playing this campaign on like the higher difficulties is more rewarding, because if the enemy is sending more armies at you, you're gaining more food, and there's plenty more Skaven troops wherever they came from, so recruiting new armies is not a problem, and they get a good amount of loot money. So overall, this is a very enjoyable campaign. I played a live stream campaign of this, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy playing Deathmaster Snitch. Highly recommend it. This is a campaign that I would recommend for people playing on higher difficulties. I think you get a lot more out of it, but Skaven can be a bit overwhelming for some people to play, a bit confusing. But it's definitely worth it to get to know the Skaven, because they're actually my favorite race in the game to play. And Deathmaster Snitch is one of my favorite lords to play. So highly recommend this. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think, which legendary lords you want me to cover next. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.